Hey, what's going on, guys? Kalamazi here, and today Warlock got a very large amount of changes, I guess, in this week's 10.2 PTR build. Changes to every single specs tier set, a lot of changes to Demonology, some buffs to a lot of Demonology abilities, which we expected, some changes to Destro and Aff, I guess, minor changes compared to Demo, but overall, Warlock got a lot of help. So today's video, we're going to be looking at all that. Like always, Week Wars add-ons down below. Twitch and Discord links if you want them. They're all for free for you guys. And yeah, honestly, with that being said, let's just get right on into the changes. Okay, so I'm going to jump around a little bit here because there was a post that covered a handful of changes, like class changes. One covered tier sets, and a blue post came out covering most of the changes that were mentioned, but not like certain modifiers and proc rates. So we're going to jump between 2 or 3 different pages here, but if you want them, they're on Wowhead, all in the main news section, all that kind of stuff. Okay, so getting into Affliction. Now, Affliction didn't get really any changes when it comes to like the core profile. You're still casting UA and your dots and all that. Nothing really changed there. They did indeed buff Unstable Afflictions to spell damage a good bit in PvP. If you do that, I don't. That's there. The tier set for Affliction. So they've changed the way that it works to now work with Seed of Corruption damage, right? So it now says Soul Rot grants you 3 Umbra Fire Kindling. It's a stacked big buff, basically, which increases the damage of your next Rapture by 50% or your next Seed of Corruption by 60%. Additionally, the buff causes Rapture, not Seed, but Rapture to extend the duration of your all your dots and haunt by 2 seconds. So looking at it in game here, what they basically did, they took the bonus, they added a damage clause to Seed, which is great. You can actually do damage with it now, you know, in like Mythic Plus. It's relevant in AoE based settings and things. But they did not put the actual dot extension on the bonus. They just, or I guess for Seed, all it does is work with Rapture. Now, I think adding a dot extension clause onto it wouldn't be that big of a deal for casting Seed, but either way, it just sort of is what it is. It's sort of the world we live in, but it's something. The bonus is now relevant in Mythic Plus in those kind of settings, right? Now, the first thing I will say, I'm going to cast Soul Rot here. We're not doing any damage, but this buff lasts 12 seconds. It is way too short. It needs to be probably, I mean, it likely needs to be about 20-ish seconds, give or take. I don't know if a permanent buff would be like okay, because you could like do some weird stuff with like chaining it into the next pack a little bit maybe, but hard to say. But 12 seconds is too short depending what you're doing. I've had it drop a couple times, or I guess miss like one of the final stacks because I was like draining or refreshing Shadow's Embrace or catching dots and things. It happens. It doesn't very often. When it does, it feels pretty bad. Probably needs to be like 18 seconds, at least 16, 17, somewhere around there, so you can guarantee those 3 Rapture casts or those 3 Seed casts. Now, on top of that, it has a similar issue that Aff had in 10.0, where it does say Seed of Corruption, but it only buffs 1 of the 3 seeds from Seed, like when you're playing So, right? So I'll pull up my damage meter here, pull this off. I'll cast Soul Rot, and then cast Seed. And you'll notice, looking at the damage, we'll Seed, we'll pop this. So the average here, 16k basically, give or take. It's a crit for double that. It's only 1 seed. Here's the seed that was buffed, 26, 27, 30 with a crit. Excuse me. It's only 1 seed that's buffed. The other ones do less, right? They do 17k, 16k. It's less. It's only 1 seed. Now, I feel like Aff's AoE with Doom Blossom and So the Seed spam and all that is already pretty strong. Plus, if you end up playing a build that doesn't even play this row and just plays double Gluttony, 1 Dark Harvest, you can do that, I guess, proc that effect literally every half a minute with double Soldier's Gluttony. So it might be intended. It might be the same bug we saw in 10.0, which worked with 1 of our seeds instead of 3 with our tier bonus. We'll see where it goes. If it is a bug, hopefully it's fixed. It would make Aff's like AoE with Seed even more insane. But either way, I've tested it a bit. We'll test it more in a couple days in a video. But even with that being the case and being bugged, Aff's Seed damage, when you're spamming Seed with So and Doom Blossom and AoE, even on these dummies, it's pretty high. So it's cool. Aff's tier does indeed now work in Mythic Plus. If you want dot extensions on like 2 or 3 mob pulls, you can Rapture instead and go from there. But we wanted a Seed clause on this Maybe they'll add dot extension to seed. Maybe they'll make it affect all 3 seeds. We'll see where it goes. But my big point of feedback, the actual effect likely needs to last longer because 12 seconds is pretty short in some settings. You can't always dump all 3 stacks. But yeah, that's it for Aff. Let's look at destruction. All right, so Destro got 1 change, but it got more than 1 change theoretically if you look at the tier bonus, right? Or I guess the tier changes. So the only like toolkit change that Destro got is a buff to Rain of Fire. Now this is actually a 15% buff overall. Looking at how the modifier has been changed here, we'll look at that more in a minute in the blue post explaining all the changes. This is basically the compensatory buff, I believe it's a word, for the Madness change. Chaos Bolt got a baseline 15% buff when it lost Madness, on top of like the Chaos Bringer buff that it had being 10%. This is that buff to Rain of Fire. Shadowburn didn't get one, but I mean, I don't know. Shadowburn, let's be honest, it sort of is what it is. So not really play very much other way. This clause being added here, so they did not actually tack Inferno into like Rain of Fire. I hope they had in an attempt to like free up Cataclysm here. They did not. Basically, if you take Inferno, it now adds like the modifier, like the text to the Rain of Fire ability. If I spec out of this and change talents, it won't show the Shard Gen clause here from Inferno. No baseline Cata or anything, you know, hope squandered, but we'll see where it goes. So nice buff to Rain of Fire. We hope we would get it, and we did indeed. But on top of that, there were a handful of changes, or I guess 1 or 2 to Destro's tier set. So Destro. So the 2 pieces have been changed. They removed the baseline Immolate damage increase, and they just baked it into Immolate. So here's the old modifier for Immolate. They added this in, 20 to 25. That's 20% for those that can't do Florida math like I can. So they added that into Immolate from what I understand baseline. So this is essentially been a passive increase. They changed it. Bolts from Dimensional Rifts now deal 25% of the damage dealt to nearby enemies. So this might sound pretty subpar, but it's actually not. Immolate also a chance to give you a charge of Rift back, and the 4-piece, they buffed the Fire Rift by a decent bit. It's probably like what, 50%, 50% and 33% roughly, I think, right around there, give or take. The Fire Rift, spoilers ahead, is indeed the best Rift now. It's pretty solid. Now, the cool thing about this is if you get into game, so previously, when it came to AoE and things, Rift was not really worth casting in AoE. You really didn't even play this talent here, right? You ended up playing a build that looked like this. You had 2-minute build. If I can change to it, doesn't bug out. You played 2-minute build. It was hard to find value from pulling a point in like Purple Infernal or Grand Warlocks to get into this node here. If you did, you probably wanted Chaos Incarnate over Dimensional Rift. Now, unfortunately, like the Rift buffs, they are good in AoE. It's worth casting an AoE now, spoilers ahead, but it sort of makes it so like you probably don't play 2-minute Infernal anymore. You're probably playing just the old build like this, probably, and plus just playing Overwhelming Power and that, or this, whatever this is called, going from there. We'll see what happens in a few days with more testing, but either way, so I'll show you what Rift looks like. We'll change this build here. Rift is interesting. So I'll open 3 Rifts here in AoE, just no overall damage, just gonna open 3 Rifts. These are the Fire Rifts. You can see I'm AoEing a bunch here. 3 Rift Burst is 120k, 130k. It's not bad, right? But the cool thing, if you open up the breakdown here, right? If you click these tabs, there's an ability called Dimensional Cinder. Dimensional Cinder is a 25% increase from the portal cleaving, basically, right? So you can see the cleave damage here. Spoilers ahead. In a couple days, I'll make a video on like damage testing for all the specs. The Rifts were like 16% of my damage in AoE in pure Destro Rain of Fire spam. They weren't too bad. Now, the other cool thing, so I mean, that appears to be worthwhile, because you also have the Shard Gen coming in from them, which makes it even better, right? Now, the other cool thing that wasn't really mentioned here, it's sort of how Cry Havoc works for Destro as well. It's not just AoE where you get the 25% bonus damage, right? You actually also get it in single target. It's basically a separate damage event from the Dimensional Rift. So for example, I'll smack this mob here, get some damage going here. We'll cast our Rift, right? And look at the damage breakdown. Here's the Rift, open it up. There's Dimensional Cinder. So it's a large buff at AoE, but also a bit of a buff in single target. So the sims that I ran a few days ago where Rifts were behind Chaos Incarnate by 2k for me, likely means that with the Fire Rift buff also coming in, that Rift is better than Chaos Incarnate in single target now. In 2-target and 3-target, spread cleave like Council of Dreams and all that, we'll see what happens. Likely it's still better to play Chaos Incarnate, but It is a buff in single target, with the 2-piece now causing them to cleave because it works in single target. And the 4-piece, they buff the Fire Rift. It hits the hardest. It's the best one to proc now. I don't know the proc rate on it. Might be a little rare in the other 3, but the cool thing, Rift is a cool ability to hit. It feels good to smash Rift, whether you're standing still or moving, as like an ability that does damage. It's cool. It's your Legion artifact weapon ability. It's iconic. And the cool thing is, like, the damage is mostly there now, right? You might not be playing 2-minute Infernal and Plus, which is a bit awkward at times. Maybe at some point you just do anyways. But either way, having Rift back as an ability just to smash and does damage now in single target, it's pretty cool. And when you proc, you know, two quick portals in a row, it's pretty sick. So 2-piece, both an AoE increase as well as a single target increase. The 4-piece, Flame Rift does more damage. And yeah, Destro is doing Destro things and still feels pretty good, I'd say, overall. All right, and finally we have Demonology. Demonology got a lot of changes today. We'll look at them all visually here. Damage testing, a couple days, different video. Check back for that. But it got a lot. So, okay, starting here. Off the bat, all Nether Portal demons damage increased by 30%. Spoilers ahead, it's still not very good, but it's a step in the right direction, right? Without Tyrant extensions here on Portal Demons, they're still pretty mediocre, but it's something. On top of that, Glan's Ambition, the Pit Lord has been redesigned. Now, I was sad when I read this, but it's actually very cool. When another portal ends, summon a Pit Lord that blasts your target for fire damage every 1 second for 10 seconds. So this means I doubt there's any haste scaling with it. So probably not, so there's that. At the same time, it's magic damage and not physical, so no armor reductions and like that. It's very, very cool. It's basically Manaroth, like holding his like spear up or whatever it is and shooting out a big green like wave of fire. We'll check it out. It's very, very cool. I think it's cool in the old Pit Lord. And I'm pretty sure the older, bigger, fatter Pit Lord model's back that we had early on, because it's not in melee anymore. So it's iconic. It's pretty cool. On top of that, so Demonic Tyrant's Demon Fire increased by 30%. So this works with both Reign of Tyranny and Grand Warlock's design. Reign of Tyranny is still not very good from what I've seen in testing. Grand Warlock's design is still better. But this is a buff across both them. However, Reign of Tyranny modifiers and all that likely favors Tyranny a bit more, but Tyranny still pretty bad. So Tyranny has been redesigned. Summon Demonic Tyrant empowers 5 additional Wild Imps. So keep in mind, baseline, you know, stuff, all that, whatever. Reign of Tyranny. This says, if I'm playing it, up to 15 of your Wild Imps, right? If I change to Grand Warlock's design, it will change to 10 Imps. So they sort of got around the weird capping of Imps and things by adding it to Reign of Tyranny. Pretty cool fix overall. I think it's actually pretty solid. Pretty smart planning, a pretty smart design. Unfortunately, this is still better, but either way, it gets around that. The other change, though, is that they've removed, like, the greater, lesser demon part of Reign of Tyranny. All your pets just count basically as 1, right? And your Tyrant deals 10% initial damage for each demon he empowers. So previously, both your Felguards, your Vile Fiend, your dogs all counted as greater demons. Your lesser demons were just imps, right? So with Reign of Tyranny being capped at 15 previously, it meant that basically you could summon all your greater demons, like your Grimoire, like your baseline Felguard, your Grimoire Felguard, Vile Fiend, and 2 dogs, each one being 3 power each, at 15. So literally none of your imps counted towards Tyrant with Reign of Tyranny at all, which was pretty awkward and clunky. They've removed the cap in Reign of Tyranny, but they've removed like the greater, lesser demons. So basically, it's almost a wash if you do the math on it. You can do all your demons, like your big ones being like 5, plus like, let's say like 12 imps, right? Give or take. That's like 17, roughly, for like a 170 damage increase. Previously, it was the same thing pretty much. You have 15 power at 10% each for like, you know, 150. So maybe like a minor buff to Tyranny. But in the end, like, I mean, you're probably never going to have 15 imps out in a Reign of Tyranny Tyrant and raiding. In Mythic Plus, you can, if you change from one pack to the next, playing Reign of Tyranny, which is cool, but, you know, still a little awkward, but it's better. A little more synergistic, and there's no like greater or lesser demon power, because not having any imps count towards your Tyrant Reign of Tyranny felt awkward and like sort of clunky. So that's, I guess, thematically a good fix. I guess a little bit of quality of life, but in the end, if they want Reign to be better, they need to buff it more. It's still not very good. Not as good as Grand Warlock's design, right? So moving on from there, I fixed this. I didn't know it was a good thing, but this is fixed. Now, a lot of like baseline buffs. We said this was going to happen because Demo was very undertuned, right? Demon Bolt, 30% damage increase. Hand of Gul'dan, 25% damage increase. Wild Imps, 25. Implosion, 25. Shadow Bolt, 30. A lot of Shadow Bolt Nemo Bolt buffs. I get it. Whatever. Called Dreadstalkers, 25%. Grimoire Felguard, 30%. So these are pretty big buffs, and we'll come back to this, but Demo's M+ profile is actually pretty strong. Again, just like they buffed Implosion many times. Yeah, Imp Gang Boss was changed, but Implosion was buffed, I think, 20% last week. 25 more here. Plus, Balta Fiends, they're 10%. Bombers with Fiends, also pretty good in plus. Bombers better than Strength, I'm pretty sure at this point. They're also buffing Dogs by 25. Hand of Gul'dan, not massive, but something, 25. Grimoire, not bad with AoEs, 30%. Grand Warlock's design being good. Baseline 1-minute Tyrants, also pretty good. So like this profile is coming up in plus, actually. It's looking pretty strong once again, right? Immutable Hatred's been redesigned. Now, from what I understand here, there has been no buff to Hatred in single target. Your primary Felguard's Legion Strike deals 100% increased damage to its primary target. This is the same thing. The same second half of this from retail. What they did, they removed the clause on the first line that says it does more damage to the main target if it hits one target. Basically, if you're in a pack of like 10 mobs, Legion Strike will still hit. It'll hit your main target for 100% more damage, and the rest of them surrounding it for like, you know, the normal amount, right? Previously, if you cleave multiple mobs, none of them get hit for more. Now it's the primary target. So it made it better in like stat cleave settings, like maybe like a boss fight with ads being pulled on top of it. You'll still cleave the main target for more with Hatred. It's sort of like a little quality of life increase. It's not bad, but won't really be a huge buff in general. Might make it a little better in plus at times, but I mean, honestly, I think Guillotine's still pretty good. We'll see where it goes, but it's, once again, just nice. Good to have around. Didn't really need like that weird, you know, 3-target clause that we had before. So nice change there. Not bad. Then we have the tier bonus. So this has changed a good bit as well. It's been redesigned, sort of. So Demon Bolt now applies a Doom brand. So it's still Demon Bolt applying the Doom brand, right? Dealing, sure, shadow damage, all that stuff. Hand of Gul'dan reduces the duration of your active Doom brands by 1 second per soul shard spent. They also increase the damage of Doom brand, the 2-piece, by 35%. The chance for Doom brand to summon a Doom Fiend has been increased. And the 4-piece, when Doom brand explodes, this is cool. You have a chance to summon a Doom Fiend that casts 5 Doom Bolt volleys before departing. Each Doom Bolt volley deals shadow damage up to 4 nearby targets. It's pretty good. Does a lot of damage, actually. So we can try and spawn it here briefly. Now, the one thing I don't love about this is still that it's Doom Bolt or Demon Bolt that applies the actual Doom brand. Like, and plus, you're still going to be weaving Doom Bolts or Demon Bolts a lot to apply the debuffs, and it's sort of awkward, right? But we'll try it out here. So there's 2 active right now. And one cool thing, watch when I hand here. Watch the durations. Let me target this. Watch this. They're both reduced. Hand of Gul'dan splash damage is now reducing the duration of all these, and it's literally like 3 seconds per Hand of Gul'dan per shard spent. It's actually really cool. Now, like I said, tab targeting around M+ is going to be a little annoying. I'm not a huge fan of that, but I've seen already screenshots of multiple Doom Guards being active at once. So let's see if we can spawn one here. We have 4 expiring. There's one right there, and watch it volley. Look at it volley. It just volleys, and the damage is not bad, right? It crit one. It's critting for like 200k per volley here. Look at the volley damage, right? It's like 775k. I just proc another one, and there it goes again. It's actually pretty strong. Now it'll reward like the higher skill ceiling, whatever skill cap of like weaving Demon Bolts for more Doom brands, all that kind of stuff. It is currently bugged on PTR with multiple Warlocks casting Hand of Gul'dan. They all share reductions, so it's bugged, but it is pretty cool. Like, there's no synergy with Demonology, like the spec with like Tyrant or anything, but the volley is cool. It spawns more often, as you can see here. Doom brand's not even terrible at AoE. It's doing 530k, 1.42. These are pretty wild. They crit a good bit, and we had 2 spawns, but it's not bad. The issue, though, in single target is that there's no clause on this that says, like, yo, if it hits one mob, it does, like, you know, 500% more damage. It's still, like, the 2-piece, like, 1%, and the 4-piece, like, 2% of your damage in single target. So they need to find a way to make it good in single target as well as in AoE. If there's some way to add a clause like that where it does more to one target, perfect. That'll work out well. But currently, it's only good in Mythic Plus. In single target, it's very subpar. But thematically, it's getting there. The hand to cooldown reduction is very, very good. Thank God. You're not weaving bolts back and forth for both, like, you know, Doom brand applications and reductions. It's handy. Like, you can put up a handful of Doom bolts or Doom brands like this and just go, yo, hand to cooldown this mob. Double reduction. Do it again. Reduction again. It feels good. That feels much better. It's captured the essence of Hand of Doom a little more. I wouldn't mind like Hand of Gul'dan just applying the buff and reducing it. I wouldn't mind Shadow Bolt applying it as well. Because at times you do feel a little shard starved if you're not getting like core refunds or whatever. But overall, it's not bad, right? So let's take a look at the Pit Lord. Now, the Pit Lord is really sick. I'm actually a huge fan of it. It was, during Alpha, it was bigger. But they changed the size of Pit Lord because, I guess, melee being clogged up. It was hard to see all kind of stuff. I am 90% sure this is the older, larger model of the Pit Lord. And it stands next to you and casts from range, which is very cool. So hopefully that was like made like a conscious decision to make that change. It's sick, it looks cool, all the above, right? So let's say, spoilers, the damage is terrible. It has not been tuned at all. The damage is horrendous. But we're going to just spawn it here and look what it does, right? So let's go into this. We're going to portal. Portal, just cast normal things here, Violent Fiends, Grimoires, all that. It is probably my favorite change today, if they buff the damage. I don't even want to play Portal either way. All right, attack now. Now they're not passive anymore. He's going to spawn right now. Watch. Here he comes. There he is. Attack. He launches this massive green thing out of his like glaive at the target. And look how big he is. He's massive again. And his wings are out. It looks sick. And there's a Doom Guard in the back even more. Demonology feels a lot more like Demonology. It feels like a summoner spec. You got your Doom Guards, you've got your Pit Lord back again, even though it sucks. There's another one right there, actually. They'll likely buff the Pit Lord, because in the end, the damage from Pit Lord is abysmal. Like, my Helm enchant just beat it. Like, it's real bad. But it's very cool. Hasn't been tuned at all. Probably just like initial implementation, but cool to see. We'll see where it goes. Overall, in testing today, Grand Warlock's design, Immutable Hatred was still the best build, but there are variations you can play. So I'm pretty happy overall with the changes today for Warlock. Once again, Siphon Life for AF, yeah, it's still awkward. There's like the non-dot extension on this from like Seed, which hopefully gets fixed. Maybe the bug with 1 Seed out of 3 gets fixed too. If you like Rifts for Destro, great. They're good in single target and good in AoE. But overall today, I'd say it was a pretty big W for Warlock. A lot of this stuff was posted on the forums as well for feedback. And a lot of these changes, the Hand to Gul'dan clause being added to the 2-piece, 4-piece, Seed being added to this, even Rift cleaving in AoE. These were all points of feedback made by me and others as well, right? Even when it comes to Demo, a lot of like just these buffs and things, they were hit on, like hatred changes. I mean, baseline buffs were needed, right? The imp cap on Tyrant, they added this clause to Reign of Tyranny. So like, honestly, man, a lot of these changes, like there's feedback given on these. So hopefully more will be given. Tuning will come. We can go from there. But Demo is much, much, much more competitive than it was last week. And we'll see it tomorrow, I guess, in action in PTR testing. So thanks for watching, guys. Wraps it up. Hopefully you are excited about the changes like I am. I think, like I said, there were a lot of quality of life changes today. I like the fact that every tier bonus has become relevant in AoE and M+, as well as single targets. I was surprised at how much damage the Destro Flame Rifts dealt when I tested them earlier. The Demo bonus with like weaving Demon Bolts on the mobs to apply Doom brand is still a little awkward, but the Hand of Gul'dan splash damage, like reducing the duration, and the Shard Spent Clause, it feels good. I've procced multiple Doom Guards, and they do a good bit of damage in AoE. Like I said, the 2-piece, 4-piece need some serious help in single target for Demo, but we'll see where it goes. So, like always, weekly rewards and add-ons, links to Twitch and Discord down below, where they're all for free for you guys. At the same time, we're in the video. I want to give one shout out to my patrons again, one final shout out. Thank you for all supporting on Patreon, guys, a million times. Like always, I really appreciate it. If you're looking at supporting on Patreon, should be a link up here, as well as down below somewhere in the video description. And like I said earlier, the 10.2 Warlock spreadsheet will indeed be going live on Patreon about a week and a half, give or take. The tier 3 Fellow Guard rank or higher gets early access to that if you're interested. So we'll see where the next few weeks go when it comes to PTR stuff. Testing is tomorrow on one boss. It is a single target one, but I'm curious to see where AF, Demo, and Destro all land. Honestly, I mean, I think they're all pretty similar, but different builds of Demo are performing a little better, a little worse. Might just be RNG, but depending where the big dog classes, like the hunters and the rep paladins and things land after this week's tuning, Lock is looking pretty decent. So we'll see where it goes. If you enjoyed the video, hit the like and sub buttons below. Helps out a ton. And I'll catch you all again soon on stream. Peace.